Hey guys, how's it going today? Back at it on the GT750 again. Got the coils in, so that's what I'm going to be working on today. This is replacing the old coils that aren't working. So I'll get started. So my plan here is basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one coil off the mounting bracket one at a time, and then just replace them singly as singles, as the wiring is kind of jacked up on here, where this black one, the left of this plug-in is this coil, and then the right is over here. The new coils I have are not, they do have a tracer on them, but I think they're all the same black and yellow tracer. So it'll make things a little confusing. One thing that did happen as I was taking it out was this one decided to break on me, which doesn't really matter now, but it goes to show they're kind of stiff and they aren't very usable anymore. I'm going to take this little, I'll grab that here in a second, put that on the coils when I'm done here. I got the first one on here. It's kind of a little bit of a pain to get the little machine screw in under the new coil. So now I have to get the wiring to work out here. So I got the black wire with the orange and the orange power wire, which is this far one. If you look at these connections, they got a little tab on the back side here, right there. So what you have to do is look at this, see where the little crimp is, which I'm looking for the black wire, this far left one. Take a fancy tool, slip it in. Sometimes it's kind of a pain in the rear to do this. Get it to get the tool in there. Sometimes it's a little bit of a struggle. This tool may not be thin enough either. Sometimes you can also come from the back. Let's see if I can get this in here. Come on now. There. You push the little tab up. Use the tool to push the little. Sometimes you have to push the wire forward to get a little space in there because this is obviously catching on the connector. Get that pushed up a little bit. Shove the tool in there. It'll depress it. You can pull it all out together. Do the same for this one. And push it up in there. And be careful not to stab yourself in the hand. Don't get too quick. Sometimes also you can get yourself into a little bit of trouble by wedging the tool up under the clip. Close. Try it again from this side. There we go. Works a lot better when it comes from the top. Because if you come from the rear, sometimes it'll deform it and press it down. So, we got that situated. We'll just do the reverse. Slip our connection up in there, lock it in. Slip this one in there. Oop, that one did not want to lock in. Oop. And that one kind of messed up the plug there, I think. Let's see if we can pry that out a little bit here. I could reach that. Well, maybe get it this way. Anyway, so the little tab's kind of pushed down a little too far. So it's going in, but it is not wanting to lock in. That'll probably be a problem here down the road, but for right now, I'm going to run with it, get the rest of these changed out, and then I'll deal with that. Alright, got the coils put together. One thing I'm kind of worried about is how short the pigtail of this all is. The other one was a little bit longer. We'll see how it fits in the bike. I guess that's all we can do. Might have to disconnect some of this and kind of monkey around with it. Alright, let's see what happens here. Alright, I got it all together here. It's a little short. I don't have the bolts tight for the coils. I'm just trying to mock it up. Got this all kind of put back to the way it was. Everything looks pretty good. A little short, but it does plug together. Barely. Hope those are making pretty good connection. Alright, I'm going to tighten everything up, put my my spark plug wires down to the spark plugs, leave one off. We'll check it and see if we're actually getting spark, see if this helps. So I got the battery in, went to go hit the button, see what happens, the starter button, and nothing. I thought, well, great. Alright, so I checked the battery. The battery has 12.6 volts. Perfect. Tried fiddling with the ignition. Nothing. So I decided to check the main fuse. And it is burnt or popped. I'm not sure why it did that. I don't know if I bumped something. So I'm going to replace it and we'll see what happens here. I do something I kind of curious about. Probably look in the wiring schematic, but I do have some open wiring here. There's this black and white wire bullet connector that is not shielded. Usually, like this would be a power, or a shielded one would be the power wire, and the other side would be the receiving end, or the ground. I'm not sure. I don't know. That was up under this strap, so that could have caused something. But replace it, and we'll see what happens here real quick. Alright, new fuse is in. Fortunately, I had purchased some 3 20-amp fuses because my order on Partzilla was a little low and I needed just some free, I wanted to bump it up to get the free shipping. I thought, well, wouldn't hurt to have a couple fuses around, especially some new ones. Let's see if I can get this all put back together. This is kind of a tricky deal here. It's kind of a pain in the butt to open. Now it's a pain in the butt to shut. There we go. Finally clicked. We'll get this situated back up here. This flipped around. Alright. Now, let's see if we can get some spark out of this. Key turning on. Nope, I'm guessing we just popped the fuse again. So, fortunately, now comes the fun part of what is going on. It's not my favorite game to play. I've had a lot of trouble in the past with this on, well, mostly my CB750. It's been popping the main fuse and overcharging the battery, so I have a short somewhere on that as well. Now I get to play that same game with this. Not knowing what is touching or what is going on is going to make this a interesting deal. Ooh, maybe it's this wire right there. Well, I'll hold this out a little bit. I'll try this again. Because I just happened to notice that brass piece is hanging out, which means that plug-in did not hold in like I was hoping. It might just be because it's the far one here and it's just tugging itself out. So let's unplug this. We'll do it. We're going to do a simple test here. Yeah, so that wasn't even plugged in. I don't really like that. We're going to have to do something a little different here. Let's see what we're doing. Do something a little different here. We'll pull this out. Not put that in there. We're going to run a different zip tie, I think. Situate that. Get this strap put back. I think maybe we'll push that power wire back in. I'd fix that. There we go. It was staying in there quite well, but it doesn't look like it. Alright, let's replace this fuse and we'll see if it pops the fuse again with this unplugged, because that's the only thing I've really changed on the bike. Alright, fuse replaced, the coils are unplugged. I'm going to try to turn on the ignition. About ready to see what happens. Ignition staying on. Fuse did not pop. I can see we are in neutral. Headlight is on. Coils are unplugged. So I'm wondering if that wire that backed out on me was touching this metal piece here, and that's what was causing the short. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to turn the ignition off. I will proceed to plug that back in, and we'll see what happens. All right. So I said I was going to turn off the ignition, but I didn't, and the second I plugged it in, the fuse popped. So my brand new coils are shorting me out somewhere, which is not very cool. So I don't know what's going on here or why they would be shorting out. That's kind of frustrating because I just bought them earlier this week. So let's see what's going on here. Guess I'll go get my voltmeter. Back at it with the voltmeter. Hopefully I don't knock it over here. Try to get it to where you guys can see it. Touch the power wire here to the ground. I'm not sure what these are supposed to be actually at. So from what that's telling me, isn't much resistance between the power wire and the ground there. I'll check this one, see what's going on here. Could be wrong. Alright, so that one seems to be okay. Let's stick it in this one here. And that one seems to be okay. So, well, unfortunately that's the one that's been the problem child the whole time. Hold it here, see if we can get it ground. Alright, so I'm wondering if I plug this all back together, am I still going to pop fuses? We'll double check just in case I wasn't touching it all right. That one seems good. And that one seems good. Alright, well, I'm going to tape this one off, and we'll test it with a new fuse. See what happens. See if we're actually getting spark. Sort of a low-tech way I'm going to have to do this, or just to double check, make sure I'm correct in my findings. I'll plug this all back together. The one that I believe is grounded out is taped up, so it can't touch anything. Put a new fuse in down there. I'll drop the camera real quick. This one's going to be a little bit harder to see. I grabbed a different style fuse. I'm going to turn the ignition on. And what do you know? The fuse did not pop. Everything is plugged in. The camera's situated here. The one wire is disconnected. Everything else is plugged in. Neutral lights on. Headlights on. So let's see if we're getting some spark down here, because that's what I really wanted to know. Ignition is on. And I'm not getting spark. So back to square one. Unless that's not grounding out very well. Let's see. Maybe I was wrong in my questioning here. Alright, well, we are going to have to go back to square one and figure out why this isn't working. Alright, that's probably it for today. So here's where we're at. Next day, kind of took some time to think about what I was going to do, what I was planning to, how I'm going to go about testing all this. Talked it over with some friends to bounce some ideas off, looked at my wiring schematic. So what I've decided to do, one, I've messaged the guy that I bought the coils from. So hopefully he'll respond to me within the next day or two, figure out what's going on there. So what I found out was, I did some testing. I'm getting 11 volts I was reading 11 volts at the starter solenoid here, which seems kind of odd because that is directly connected to the battery, and the battery was reading slightly over 12 volts, 12.5 or something like that. I checked the orange wire here, I was getting 10 volts. I checked my coils, the orange wire on the coils, I was getting 10 volts. So I came around to the headlight, I was checking my ignition wires up in here. I was getting 10 volts on these orange wires in here. I traced back to see which one was the ignition switch, which I believe it was this one. I was getting 10 volts and 11 volts. 11 volts on the red wire, 10 on the orange. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to order some connectors, and I'm going to try to jumper this and figure out what's going on. Will it fire if I jumper certain wires? Trying to basically eliminate, is my ignition switch giving me trouble, or do I have some other issue? And I think that's where I'm going to leave it for right now. I just ordered some crimp connectors for the little 2.8 millimeter style ones here, and I had to order some new screws for the headlight before I forgot, because these are kind of trash. I was worried about getting that one out. So, alright, well, that's where I'm going to leave it. Sorry, this video kind of sucks as well, but we are slowly working our way to getting this bike running and driving again. Just not as quickly as I had hoped, so... Alright, thank you for watching. Alright, bye.